Hello everyone, how are you doing? I just wanted to share with you today a one needle trick that I use when I get into smaller spaces. Now, if you've watched my other videos, I cover using a 2-needle. Sometimes that's not always practical when you're beading in smaller areas. Take for instance, I'm using size 13s on this beadwork right here. And kind of when you get into these smaller areas, you're only needing to do 1 stitch or 2 stitches to tack the beads down. So, this is a trick that I use. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the beads on this beading thread right here. I'm using a thinner thread. It's a size B and it's doubled up. And I'll just start beading because that's the best way to show you. I usually do this for larger, longer pieces when I'm doing a lot of stitching and tacking down. I will use 2 needles, but there's just some areas that aren't practical to need to do the two needles. Sometimes it's just easier to go with a 1 needle. And if you've watched my other videos, I've covered another technique, but this is the one I like to use in the smaller areas. So what I'm going to do is I put my beads on my thread. I'm going to just use my thumb and measure them up to see how well they fit in there. Now the trick to this, using this little method, is you want to give yourself a little bit of space. I am measuring this with my thumb, but I do want to leave some room because like I've said before, when you're beading and you're tacking down, the tacking thread moves the beads. And when you're doing beadwork, they're so small that even the most minuscule movement, it shows. And so you want to always, the whole goal is to hide your thread. You don't want your thread showing up. So what I'm going to do is I've measured this. I've given myself some room because when I go back and tack through, it is going to move the beads a little bit, and you don't want it buckling. So then I'm going to tack down this thread just a little further away from this bead right here. See, I've measured it. Now I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go just tiny bit away from there to give it room. Okay. Now, this is what I do. I go back and I'm going to push the beads towards where I just tacked down. And push and use my thumb to kind of keep them still. And I'm going to start tacking down back that way. Every 2 beads. You always should tack every 2 beads. So here I've tacked the first 2. Now I'm going down the line. And as you're tacking, you can pull gently and make sure your thread has gotten nice and snug in there. And I'm going to pull gently again. You don't want to pull too tight because then you'll start compromising what you're beading on. And then so I've made 2 stitches and I'm going to make this last one, and that's all you need. So this is what I use when I'm in a smaller space and there's not a real need for 2 needles. Ta-da! So as you can see, I went this way first with all my beads. I tacked it down and I came back and tacked over 3 times. So we'll do it one more time. So we're going to start back over here again. Come up close to the beads, grab your beads. And this can, if you get really good, at doing this, is really convenient for smaller areas when you're not, not really want to wrestle with the 2 needles. So because I don't have to do very much tacking in this little area, I don't have to leave myself very much room. And you don't want to force the beads in because that's what creates, your lines to not be straight. So those look like those will fit. So I'm just pre-measuring. Now I'm going to tack it back in. And because there's only there's 5 beads on here, I'm just going to give it a little tack down right in the middle, because it's not really necessary to do a whole lot of tacking down. So I'm using the same thread. I'm just using the same thread to tack down with what I just strung on there. So this is another trick that I just wanted to share with y'all. Something I just picked up along the way. Figured, you always want to work smarter, not harder. And I think I want to tack down this last one right here because it's kind of popping up a little bit. There. So this, I'm not even sure what this is going to be. This is a traditional Grovant design. That's my tribe, which, normally it's mostly black and white and it's representative of feather. So I put a spin on it because I was just itching to use these beautiful beads. Oh my gosh, these are like chocolate bronze beads, or Charlotte True Cuts. They just shine and glitter and I love them, and I've been itching to use them somehow. And I have all these other more beautiful, oh my goodness, it's like a topaz, I believe. Anyways, so that's just what I wanted to show you really quick on filling in smaller spaces. Now, when I did this whole side right here, I did use 2 needles. It makes it a lot easier to control, placing your beads and trying to get a straight line. But when you get into these little smaller areas, you can just switch to a 1 needle. Make sure you always tie down all the time, tack down. And let's cover that too. I don't know if, if you're new to beading, tying on the back, I go underneath the thread that's already there. I try to just grab a piece of that fabric, and then, when your thread doesn't get all caught up, this is how you tie around on the back. Just go through it a couple times, sometimes just once, and pull, and there you have your knot, and that's how you finish off. And if you're having trouble like I am, go back through underneath again, and then bring it through that hole and pull it, and then you have tied off your stuff. And that's how you finish off your beadwork. So I'm just going to finish filling this in, and thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I appreciate all of your support and watching and viewing. Have a good day. Bye.